Are you considering moving to the Finger Lakes, or maybe you're potentially figuring out which area is appropriate for you? Maybe you're considering moving to Rochester, like the city, or the city of Syracuse or Buffalo, but you're not really sure of the pros and cons of each of those. So hopefully in this video, I can help you answer that question. Today, I'm going to be talking about living in the Finger Lakes and why maybe you should move to the Finger Lakes. Let's go. All right, so just about every single day, it seems like we're getting calls from people moving from all over the country here to the Finger Lakes or the Rochester area. And a lot of the time their question is, should I move to the Finger Lakes or should I move to Rochester? And, you know, my answer is typically yes. Most of the time when people are talking about moving to Rochester, they talk about moving to the suburbs of Rochester. And so moving to the Finger Lakes, though, is a completely different story. And so when you're talking about moving to the Finger Lakes, typically I recommend this area to just about anybody. And there's multiple reasons, but whether or not to answer this question for you, you should be asking yourself some of the questions that I'm going to address in this video. So first, let me go over some of the data points and some of the, the points that I brought up here as to why maybe you should move to the Finger Lakes, and then see if it's right for you. By the end of the video, hopefully you'll have a better answer if the Finger Lakes is going to be right for you. So without further ado, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And with that being said, as much as I love making these videos for you on all things Rochester and Finger Lakes living, I'd love even more to help you with those real estate needs. So that number and that email, it's popping up on the bottom of your screen. I'm the one that answers those texts, emails, and phone calls. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out. But without further ado, let's hop into the video right now. All right, so first things first, if you're an outdoor enthusiast, then the Finger Lakes might be the place for you. Honestly, it's hard to find better places if you're an outdoor enthusiast. And that's, that covers all 4 seasons here, because in the Finger Lakes, we get all 4 seasons: summer, spring, winter, fall, right? So that being said, there's over 1,000 miles of hiking trails here in the Finger Lakes, and that goes all the way from the easy side to the most challenging side. So there's Tuckanic Falls, there's the Gorge Trail, there's the Finger Lakes Trailways, there's the Auburn Trail, and there's, obviously 1,000 miles, that's a ton of trailways, and it spans throughout the Finger Lakes region. So if you're into hiking or snowshoeing or something like that, or even mountain biking or just biking on easy trails, you're never going to run out of trailways here, and you can ride the same trails over and over again and probably still not see all of them. So that being said, if you're an outdoor enthusiast, this is definitely the place for you. And moving on from trailways and hiking and biking, you can go camping as well. There's tons of campsites, like hundreds, if not thousands of campsites lining the lakes here. There's all sorts of state parks: Sampson State Park, Watkins Glen State Park, all sorts of state parks that you can go camp at. If you don't want a state park, there's privately owned campgrounds as well. You can bring your RV, tent sites. A lot of them might have cabins. Some of them might have lean-tos, or kind of like a glamping type setup where it's going to have electricity, it's going to have an air conditioner in the unit, it's going to have a refrigerator in the unit, things like that, right? Where maybe it's not camping, but you can go to the woods and escape. On top of that, there's Airbnbs that are out in the wilderness. They're out, on the mountainside or right on the lake or something like that. So you can go attend those kind of things. On top of that, you have swimming. Obviously, there's 11 lakes here in the Finger Lakes. And so if you like swimming in the lake, you can do that. If you like swimming in the rivers, so just about anywhere that there's a waterfall, there's going to be like a little swimming hole. So you can definitely go do that. You can slide down the rocks into the swimming hole. It's something that a lot of kids and families love to go do, is slide down the rock slides right into the swimming hole, and it's just a really fun time for a lot of people. Now, getting into the winter season, a lot of people despise the winter. They hate the cold. They, hate the snow. My advice would always be to get outside. So if you're an outdoor enthusiast, this is going to be important for you. Winter sports, there's a bunch of ski resorts around here. There's Bristol Mountain, there's Swain Mountain, there's Holiday Valley, there's all sorts of different ski resorts here, right? And so you can go snowshoe, you can cross country ski, you can snowmobile, you can, a lot of people will dirt bike in the wintertime or four wheel in the wintertime, ski, snowboard, obviously, right? There's so much that you can do. And then on top of that, you got the lakes will freeze over, the rivers will freeze over, and a lot of people will go ice fishing, and they really love doing that. They'll set up their little tents on the ice and they'll go fish. And I have some friends who catch some amazing fish out there in the winter, and they love doing that. They'll be out there for days if the weather permits. So it's crazy to me, because I'm like, don't you have to work? Don't you have all these other commitments and stuff? But somehow they find ways to stay out there all weekend or all week just to go out ice fishing if the weather is permitted. So that being said, there's so much to do in the winter time. And moving on from wintertime, really all year round, you can go wine tasting, and a lot of these wineries and breweries are in an outdoor setting. So you can go walk the vineyards, obviously, or the winery itself or the brewery itself is going to be in a beautiful setting where it's going to kind of be tucked away, or it's going to have outdoor activities included with it. So, you can go out and do ladder ball, or you can do cornhole, or, any of these other outdoor activities that you might do at like a restaurant setting or a brewery setting, you can do here. So outdoor enthusiasts, if you're one, you should definitely move here, because in my opinion, there's almost no better place to go. And then if there's not enough here for you, say you're super spontaneous, you go out and do literally everything and you can accomplish everything here in the Finger Lakes, well, the Adirondack Mountains are just a couple hours away. You can go hit all of those. The 46 high peaks, you can go do whatever. 2 to 4 hours away, you can get all of that done too. So really, there's tons to offer here. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, you really can't go wrong with it. And that's why I would recommend the Finger Lakes for you if you're an outdoor enthusiast. Moving right along to some of the boring stuff. We'll cover the boring stuff right now, and then we'll get back into some fun stuff. The cost of living here in the Finger Lakes is far less than the national average. So looking at housing, the median house price for a home in the Finger Lakes is right around $200,000. Now, I think that's going to increase a little bit as statistics get updated based on the current market and the trends and everything. But right now we're looking roughly around $200,000, maybe like $230,000. But that being said, the median nationwide is going to be $375,000. And again, take it with a grain of salt, because current market conditions are kind of crazy. They're all over the place, and real estate is very hyper local. So the only way to accurately get a depiction of what's actually going on here in the market today is to give us a call or reach out via email or text message or whatever, and we'd be happy to answer those questions based on what's currently happening. And since it is hyper local, it's important to get somebody that is in your immediate area, so then you can see exactly what's going on, how offers are being written, how offers are being reviewed, how negotiations are happening, and how showing periods are happening, and whatever. So that being said, though, $200,000 is the median home price for the sake of these statistics, and then $375,000 is the national average. Groceries, we are about 8% lower than the national average on groceries. Utilities such as electric, gas, and water are about 10% lower in the Finger Lakes than the national average. Transportation, being car insurance and gas, are going to be about 5% lower in the Finger Lakes than the national average, which that can be significant. Healthcare is going to be about 10% higher in the Finger Lakes. Now, what I'm going to say about that is that in the Finger Lakes region, we have amazing healthcare systems, and you have just a short proximity to the city of Rochester, which, and Syracuse, that house, Strong Memorial Hospital, Rochester General, Unity, all these amazing hospital systems. And so the Finger Lakes houses a lot of the, subsidiaries, a lot of the, sister hospitals of these companies. So Strong Memorial Hospital, right? You have the University of Rochester, which is like the big umbrella. You got Thompson Health and some of these other hospitals that kind of fall under that umbrella, and so on with some of the others. So we have, by far a top tier healthcare system. And I mean, if you ask me, if there's something that I want to pay for that is going to be, quality based, I'm going to want to pay a little bit more for healthcare. That's something I'm happy to pay for, because I know that if I were ever in a situation, or my family were ever in a situation where you need it, that's something I want to be quality. So I'd rather fund them and have them utilize my money appropriately, for it to be good healthcare. I'm happy to do that. So, and then miscellaneous expenses, so things like clothing and entertainment, is about 5% lower in the Finger Lakes than the national average. So that being said, in most things, overall, the cost of living in the Finger Lakes is quite a bit lower than the national average. There is the healthcare that is a little bit higher than the national average, but it's significant when you're looking for somewhere to move. Cost of living is important. Most people aren't made of money. They don't typically have money trees. So it's not like there's endless supplies right now. And at least in your pocket, right? We can argue about the government or whatever all day long, but at least in your pocket, there's typically not endless supplies of money. So that being said, cost of living is an important factor, which is why I want to make this number 2. Yes, it's boring. I understand that, but it's important stuff. It's important for you to understand. So anyway, moving on, the Finger Lakes, it has a very strong yet diversified economy. The 3 primary drivers being tourism, manufacturing, and agriculture. Now, that being said, one thing I wanted to touch on is, yes, there's tourism. It is a big part of the local economy here, but no need to worry, because you're not normally seeing tourists like crazy. Like, I remember I lived on Oahu for 4 years, and I remember anytime you went out, you would see tourists like crazy. They were obvious, right? They're out there with their cameras and, doing the whole thing, doing things that tourists do, right? They don't look like they're locals there. And they're pretty easy to spot. Here, you don't notice that really at all. You don't notice tourists. Very, very few, I'll say. So you don't need to worry about, being bogged down by tourists, or being annoyed by tourists, or, people going against like local customs and things like that. No need to worry on that front. Now, there are challenges facing the local economy, and that is due to a lack of skilled labor. But I think that's a plague that's plaguing the whole country right now, is skilled labor. With the autonomous kind of, economy going on, or the artificial intelligence economy, like these kind of things, skilled labor, and also gig economy. Skilled labor is something that hasn't prioritized, I think, in our country right now. And so because of the agriculture, though, and the manufacturing, we're getting back to that. And I think that there are things that are being done to address these challenges in the local economy, and I think that is super important. But nonetheless, the strategic location of the Finger Lakes, accessing major markets like Buffalo and Rochester and Syracuse and Albany, and Boston, and some of these other places like Philly or Pittsburgh, right? Because of that location, and the tourism and the educational facilities that we have here, and the major hospital systems and everything, the economy is doing amazing right now in the Finger Lakes. And I think you can only expect it to continue to grow and to get better. Now, moving forward, getting into the amenities of the Finger Lakes has so many, basically literally everything that you're ever going to need. Now, growing up here, I don't ever remember going to the city of Rochester for anything that we needed. The Finger Lakes region has just about everything that you could need. And so chances are you're not going to have to go up to the city at all, unless you want to, unless there's certain things up there that you want to do, like Strong National Museum of Play, or go to Seabreeze, or, the Seneca Park Zoo or something like that, right? Those may be the only times that you go up to the city. But that being said, there's over 100 wineries wineries here in the Finger Lakes, making it the premier location for wineries. We're often called, we're coined the wine country of the East Coast. So it's like the Napa Valley of the East Coast on that level, right? Just premier location for wineries and grape growing. And over here we have grape pies, which if you haven't had a grape pie, you need to get a grape pie because they're absolutely amazing. But then, you know, as I mentioned earlier in the video, hiking and camping and fishing and boating and doing all sorts of outdoor activities, and then going to state parks as well. And then as well as cultural attractions, anything from art to history to, you know, different museums and, you know, horticulture and what have you, literally anything. And then winter activities and just anything that you're ever going to need. And then, you know, go into grocery shopping. We have BJ's up here. We have Wegmans is the big supermarket around here for groceries. But then you have Walmart, you have Lowe's, you have Harbor Freight, you have, you know, Ollie's bargain outlets, you have shoe departments, you have Eastview Mall right up in Victor, you have the Outlet Mall down there in Waterloo. You have literally, when I say you have everything that you're ever going to need in the Finger Lakes region, I mean that. You're not going to have to go to any major city unless you want to. And as far as amusement parks, you have Roseland Water Park right there in Canandaigua. So, you know, there are some things like that. Now, as when speaking about amusement parks like roller coasters and stuff, you'll want to go to Irondequoit and go to Seabreeze, but you know, it's not very often that people around here do that kind of thing because they're busy going out on the boat or jet skiing or water skiing or, you know, skiing, snowboarding, doing whatever, hiking the trails or boating, fishing, you know, etc., what have you. So it's not often that you have to go to the city for really anything. Now, we don't have like a Costco in the Finger Lakes. We don't have a Whole Foods in the Finger Lakes, right? But you have Wegmans, you have Walmart, you have Lowe's, you have all these other supermarkets, right? The big ones. There's car dealerships everywhere. There's shopping. There's literally everything is going to be in the Finger Lakes. And so I'll stop blabbing my gums on amenities because we have basically all of them here. And anything that I mention is just gonna kind of be obvious when I say we have it all here. So then going into the final part of this video, I'm gonna be talking about weather. Usually in my videos, weather is the first thing I talk about because it's honestly what a lot of people ask. Now, you know, that being said, our weather is great for outdoor enthusiasts. Our weather is great for a lot of things. It's really not as bad as people make it out to be. Everybody's like, oh, you know, why would you want to live in Western or upstate New York because the weather sucks, right? It's not that bad. This summer, it's been a little bit hot this summer, but if you go anywhere down south, if you go a few states south, Virginia, you know, North Carolina, South Carolina, you know, whatever, it's going to be a lot hotter. You go into the Midwest, it's going to be a lot hotter. So we're very mild here in upstate New York or in the Finger Lakes region, right? The hottest day I think we had this year was like 92. So it's not very bad at all. Most of the days were in the low 80s. You know, we'd say probably about 80 was your average day for the summer, this past summer. Now, this summer we did get some heavy rains, but, you know, otherwise it stayed fairly dry. It wasn't really that bad. It does get, because we have so many bodies of water here, it does get a little bit humid. The humidity factor is significant for some people, but it's nothing like if you go to Georgia or you go to Florida or you go to Hawaii or you go to some of these coastal places, nothing like that. But, you know, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that humidity is a factor here, just because the 11 Finger Lakes and being on Lake Ontario, we have bodies of water. So with that, you're going to get humidity. Now, wintertime here is fairly mild. It's really not that bad. You're not getting feet upon feet of snow, right? Like you would in maybe Buffalo or Syracuse or like Lake Tahoe or somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, right? You're not getting that kind of snow. You're getting maybe a foot at any given time, but most of the time it's going to be a couple inches. You're going to need snow boots, but it's going to be decently easy to walk. The one thing that is going to be treacherous here, or it's going to be more of a damper on your plans here, is a little bit of ice. Things tend to, the winter time tends to heat up a little bit, like to maybe 40, right? So the snow starts to melt, and then overnight it freezes again. So things turn to ice. It happens anywhere, but here it happens a little bit more. That's usually the biggest complaint of people. On top of that is it's gloomy. You get gray, gray skies, whereas out west it could be snowing feet upon feet and still be sunny bluebird skies. Probably not going to happen here. But I mean, the winter is still very mild. We hardly ever get into single digits here. We hardly ever get into negative here. We may have a negative wind chill, once or 3 times a winter, but it's very, very unlikely. It doesn't happen very much. But then the fall and springtime are the most beautiful seasons of the year, and a lot of people travel from all over the place to come here during those 2 seasons because it's so beautiful and it's so mild, right? You're talking maybe 50 to 70 degrees, a slight breeze, and partially sunny. Sometimes it'll rain just like anywhere else, but like it's a beautiful time of year. We call it sweatshirt weather, and people just love it. It's most people's favorite time of year. So with the weather, again, if you're an outdoor enthusiast, this is the place for you. It's good enough where you can go out and do literally anything that you could ever do outside, but not so bad where it's going to be miserable all the time. There's some places where it gets miserably hot and miserably cold. It's not like that. It's very mild all year round. So unless you like being miserable, then don't move here. But if you can handle mild weather and that's actually what you would prefer, then the Finger Lakes is for you. But that being said, guys, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you're notified every time I post a new video. And as much as I love making these videos for you on all things Finger Lakes and Rochester living, I'd love even more to help you with those real estate needs. So that number and that email, it's popping up on the bottom of your screen. I'm the one that answers those texts, emails, and phone calls. Definitely don't hesitate to reach out. And until the next video, guys, we'll see you. Bye-bye.